We're back with back nine coverage of round 4 of the 2022 PDGA Amateur Disc Golf World Championships. From Southern Indiana, it's the FA1 division. Brought to you in part by Ace Run Pro. Also, thanks to Gatekeeper Media for graphics. Grant Zellner and Jennifer Allen as our players vie for one of just about 20 spots that will make the finals here at this PDGA Major.
Yeah, all the pressure. It seems like such a long week, and it just all of a sudden the days are gone and you have to really focus on this last round. Starting out at hole number 10 is a par 3, 263 feet.
All drives must cross over all of the roads and make it here into the woods. Otherwise, you will be re-teeing with a penalty, the hole playing down and then back up again, as is so common here at Hobstead Johnson.
Yeah, that's a long carry. We want to get past that first tree to make it the drop down. Unfortunately, Jordan has caught up in a pile of rough.
You're not seeing double. This is twin sister Morgan. We'll have to see where that one landed, if we manage to clear all of the asphalt there or not.
Yeah, so you want a nice low shot. María from Iceland hitting the gap fairly well, catching that first tree down the hill.
Finally, Shiru out of Houston, I believe. Getting all the way there and then some. We'll have a challenging comebacker to try to earn a birdie here on this opening hole of the back nine.
Yeah, all the women making the road and no re-tees or penalties. Again, fast greens with no grass around most of these baskets, being in the woods. So coming from very thick grass on the previous rounds, women having to adjust their speed coming into the basket to not get too much of a skip. Shiru pitching out and puts it right underneath the basket for her drop in par.
I threw that upside down so that it wouldn't roll away, and now we have Morgan up and in.
Jordan. Morgan.
Excuse me, that was Jordan. Sorry.
That's your one mistake of the day. Both women carding their bogeys.
Yeah, I must have miscounted there on a shot earlier. That's what threw me off just a little bit. I thought that was for par.
I agree, actually. So was there another line?
Or it's possible we missed a re-tee here early on, which can happen. Nevertheless, we've got correct scores now. So we've got both Jordan and Morgan taking bogey here on the 10th.
Yeah, maybe there was a line down the hill. I thought all women had crossed the road.
We've got things sorted out, and we've got a threesome duking it out at the top here as we move on to the 11th.
Yeah, out into some open, a lot less trees. Takes us to hole number 11, which is a par 3. A lot more distance, 393 feet around the ballpark.
Yeah, this is a real challenge in terms of the distance and having to really change your game here all of a sudden after 10 very heavily wooded holes. Now we're out in the open where the wind has a pretty profound effect here in southern Indiana.
Yeah, so that's setting up nicely for the right-hand backhand shot. Not wanting to hyzer that over the fence, though. We want it to drop quickly. And it does very close to the basket. Huge drive for María. Shiru has a lot of distance as well, and she is putting that out nicely to the right, needing a little bit more of a skip.
Players taking advantage of rare calm conditions here at this particular moment. If you've been watching coverage of this Worlds, the wind has been swirling and pretty noticeable throughout the week.
Nice strong drives by all the women, making that corner to have a look at the basket.
Looks like Morgan will go first here.
Want to drop quickly. Beautiful shot. Well placed up shots, putting that disc out to the basket, letting it fade back in perfectly. Shiru giving a nice safe bid as well. And Maria's huge drive, getting her close enough for a good bid for birdie.
Ooh, that would have been the only birdie of the day here on the 11th. So everyone taking pars and gaining strokes on the field here.
It does feel good stepping out to some nice open green grass when you've had to really focus so many shots in a row. So nice solid star frame for the women, and we head over to the 12th.
Little star par.
The 12th keeping out in the open for one more hole. This is a par 4, 380 feet.
Yeah, about 13 feet shorter than the previous hole, but you get an extra stroke for par. Lots of out of bounds makes this 12th a challenge. The creek out of bounds, the bridge out of bounds. There is also some additional out of bounds. Difficult to see here on the drone footage. It's off to the right.
So placement shot, I would assume, short of the creek.
Yeah, you can also try to do here what Maria is doing, which is sort of punch through a bit of a back door. We'll see what Maria has to work with once she gets up to her disc. Shiru taking the more traditional play here.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think she kept that a little bit lower than she wanted to. Jordan having a little bit more height that she needed to carry up towards the creek to make that second shot a lot easier. And Morgan getting the height on the disc to kind of take up some of that space so you don't accidentally throw it too far into the creek when you're trying to lay up.
Morgan trying to flex a forehand over the creek and then get some ground play. Actually does get a little bit there. We'll have a look just outside of circle one.
Shiru has good height and angle, needing that to slide up there.
That's Jordan, if you couldn't tell, flashing the basket, then using a tree as a backstop. We'll take that kick.
So it looks like Marie had went OB and was taking that from a drop zone.
Shiru off the cage. Morgan from a similar distance.
Fun little step putt. Doesn't go too far.
Jordan, the comebacker for the birdie.
Oh, Maria really taking her time. Unfortunately, that's going to bounce out, I believe, for a double bogey or just a bogey. It should be just a bogey, I believe, for Maria.
That's correct.
Morgan tapping in her par. Maria tapping in that bogey coming from the drop zone, and Shiru tapping in her par as well. Hole number 13, par 3, 329 feet. This looks almost identical to hole number 11, but just a little bit shorter.
Yeah, we're not back in the woods yet. This little trio of holes sort of changing things up on our players here at Habstead Johnson.
Grant is the sidewalk and parking lot OB, I'm assuming?
Yes, indeed. There is a painted line that is a little bit of a challenge to see until you're right on top of it, but players aware of the dangers here.
Looks like it could come into play putting and approaching the basket. Baseball fields always play out of bounds as well.
Great shape on that one from Shiru.
Beautiful hyzers by all of the women. Getting that close to circle one. And Maria, judging her distance beautifully, puts that within about 15 feet.
Jordan, a little sidearm bid there, soft sort of putting effort. And now Morgan quickly with a backhand version of the same.
Yeah, sometimes in your head. Beautiful putt by Shiru. Great birdie. Jordan and Morgan battling this out nice and tight. So when you see one, lay that up for the par and you're tied, I think sometimes in your head it's like, okay, I'm just going to lay this up as well. And Maria tapping in that birdie as well, with Shiru and Maria with beautiful drives. And Morgan and Jordan will tap in their birdies. Or bogey. Par. I'm so sorry. I'll get it right. I can only have so many other guesses.
The players.
I was focusing so much on getting their names correct.
Right. It does. It takes a little extra mental effort, especially when they're tied here through 13 of this fourth round. And we begin the turn back into the woods.
Yeah, hole number 14, par 3, 229 feet over this creek and back into the trees.
That's correct. The basket sharply to the right here. You'll see in just a moment. So sort of a challenging late dogleg here.
Yeah, and a lot of guardian trees protecting this basket. Grant, does the creek play out of bounds, I believe, with that drop zone right there?
Yep. Normal OB rules apply.
Yeah, so we want to make sure you make it past those trees and not get that kick backwards into the OB area.
That one hit the tree but settled down, didn't roll backwards. Here's Jordan now.
forehand approach is definitely the better line to this basket.
Morgan with a tighter line hits an early tree, also manages to settle down without rolling backwards into the creek. Now quickly up to Maria.
Yeah, and catches that tree that she probably didn't see because it was hidden by the first tree in front of her.
Morgan and Jordan both up just below the basket. Maria to save par.
Wow, beautiful save.
Little sort of skip jumper there.
Soft bid.
Yeah, knew it out of the hand, kind of waved it off, knew she didn't get the pop on her release that she wanted there.
Shiru able to save her par. That's unfortunate when you're trying to give a nice safe bid at the basket and it doesn't have the strength on the putt. You're going to leave yourself with a little bit of a comeback. Shiru able to save that par.
So once more, a little star par frame there, and everybody stays right where they were.
You too can join the Ace Run Pro Patreon account for just $3 a month. Ace Run Pro always out there giving us some amazing footage. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share all of their footage that they bring for us. And we're to hole number 15. This is a par 3, 252 feet. Definitely tight off the tee.
Yeah, where'd the fairway go?
Yeah.
You got your choice of 2 or 3 gaps there, none much better than another, and then you've got a downhill finish to this hole. So I guess the good news is you can take a lot off your tee shot to try to hit the gap and then just count on the downhill to sort of carry a nice floating shot down toward the basket.
Yeah, I would take something understable off the tee just like Shiru did, and that allows the disc to kind of float a little bit more to hit those gaps. That was a beautiful drive.
Yeah, catches some tree branches there, but still makes it to the bottom of the hill. Maria takes out an early tree, and we'll have a challenging second shot here. Now this is Jordan.
Yeah, the forehand looks like it's going to play well. Unfortunately, both these women are catching this first couple of trees getting into the gap there. Morgan.
Wow.
Wow, she makes the gap beautifully and goes right by the basket.
Maria, unfortunately, another tree kick there off of the upshot. So now this will be her third.
And sometimes it takes a few to, they were able to do a full strength on their drive. So adjusting back to the woods, putting a little bit slower speed on your release might take a few holes.
A lot of touch on that upshot for Jordan. Now here's Maria.
Ooh,
good solid bid there.
Yeah. Those downhill putts are going to hyzer out a little bit quicker, just like those two did.
Maria for an unfortunate double bogey there.
Beautiful birdie. I'm assuming there was not too many of those.
No, as a matter of fact, let's check. Here on the 15th, just a handful, 4 total out of 73 players. here at the 15th.
Yeah, that was definitely a very difficult line to hit.
So Morgan with a one-stroke lead over sister Jordan. Shiru still in the mix.
And just like that, we're to hole number 16, par 3, 248 feet. Again, very tight gap to hit off the tee.
Playing over water here to a basket that's actually in a fairly open space, all things considered. Here, once we sweep around these trees and look back to the right just a little bit, here's an interesting thing about this hole, a big-time score separator. Lots of birdies, plus some bogeys and even doubles. So big score separation here.
Seeing a lot of string. Interesting. I kind of like their string or banner that is marking that as off the ground. So it definitely is a little bit easier to see.
Morgan, unfortunately, in the water off the tee. Shiru off the tree and in.
No way! What a beautiful ace. Wow. Focusing so much on just hitting the gap off the tee. And she plays that off like a champ. Keeping all that excitement in. One more. That is not what I expected to see.
Jordan settling the nerves and landing just inside the circle. Maria.
Yeah, that was
a good kick.
Yeah, early out of the hand is going to kick that to the left.
It was a good kick because she stays in bounds. Meanwhile, here's Morgan. Nice recovery.
Beautiful
after going
shot.
in the water.
Yeah, just slides, unfortunately, a little bit long. Maria trying to work that side hill as well and slide towards the basket. And we still have a disc in the basket. There, she's running it down. What a shot.
Oh, picture time.
Yeah, you have to get a pick by the basket on that one.
Get an ace in a major. I think it's a rule.
Absolutely.
Morgan forced to pitch up awkwardly around that tree. Meanwhile,
Nice.
Jordan with the birdie.
Nice long birdie putt by Jordan. So we have some all over the place scores on this hole. Mm-hmm. That's my first blue square I've seen by Ace Run Pro. Maria taking her time to save par.
Morgan unfortunately takes the double just one hole after taking the outright lead. We've got all kinds of movement here amongst that top threesome.
Yeah, I thought we were going to have a 1, 2, 3, 4 on the scorecard, but unfortunately that will be a 5.
Plastic Addicts is proud to sponsor the coverage of the 2022 PDGA Amateur World Championships. Use code 22AMWorlds to get 10% off store-wide from now until the end of July. Orders over $70, shipped free. Thanks for choosing Plastic Addicts.
Hole number 17, we have a par 3, 263 feet back downhill into the woods.
The 17th is playing 0.86 strokes above par. Obviously, a big challenge here because of the shape. You've got to hit an early gap and be moving a little bit to the left, but then things sort of straighten out for a while to a basket that's a little bit up and to the right. Difficult to find a disc in the bag that's going to fly that particular shape.
Yeah, over the rolling hills we go. Shiru with the box after that ace, and it is so hard to get a nice drive after an ace.
Fortunate to make the Mando, though. You can see there is a Mando off to the right. Got to go left to there.
Jordan clearing most of the way down to inside circle 1.
Maria down there by that tree stump, just probably outside or edge of circle 1.
So the forehand line appears to be the way to go.
Yeah, you've got room to sort of yank over on it just a little bit and then let it naturally fade back for you. Here's Shiru trying to get the corner. Does so. She'll have a circle's edge look now. Here's Jordan.
Yeah, hard uphill putt to turn past that little tree. Unfortunately, that gives her a pretty ugly kick.
It's a par-saving effort for Shiru. Goes off to the right. Morgan confirming she's outside the circle.
Just pitching that up. Nice, smart play.
Not risking it with that hill.
Jordan having to pitch that up, so Jordan will concede the bogey.
Good effort.
So no birdies here amongst the leaders. Just one birdie on the day here at the 17th. It was Cadence Burge, who is pushing from a chase card to make the top foursome for the final round that will be contested the day after this one.
So continuing to stay tight at the top. We have made it to hole number 18, back out of the woods. This is a par 4, longest hole 455 feet.
Yeah, an interesting finish, kind of off script. Out here to an open landing area and then sort of an obvious main line here into this basket.
Playing like an island, street OB.
Sort of, yep. The concrete areas and things like that are playing out of bounds. Some
so
other
Maria
OBs.
showed us some huge distance earlier.
A lot of other OB on this hole. Most of it doesn't come into play. This needs to hurry.
Wow.
Okay,
what?
now it needs to back up.
That's not what she expected the roller to do, but that is just fine, leaving her safe right on the edge of that placement area where you want to land. Strong roller, though. That was an interesting choice. You don't see a lot of women pulling rollers out.
No, not at all. Morgan safely to the most common landing zone just before the out-of-bounds asphalt area. Shiru, similar.
Beautiful distance. Yeah, that was perfectly placed. Jordan following suit. And all the women hit that landing zone just right, but unfortunately catching a little bit of that tree.
Yeah, everybody about 200-ish feet out from here. Morgan asking that to get down before it meets that parking lot, and she just does.
Yeah, Shiru really trying to get all the distance on that. The hyzers into that tree on the right. Maria has a better angle. Good height. Beautiful shot for the tap in birdie to finish the 18th.
Don't bump your head. That'll put Maria back to even par for the tournament.
Wow. I don't know if she tried to throw that in, but she almost does.
Morgan off to the left. So none of our lead threesome able to card the birdie here. However, Cadence Burge, once again, cards one of the few birdies.
Shiru, unfortunately, taking a bogey, hitting that tree and going back into the OB area.
Oh, no.
And that does it for our 4th round at the Amateur World Championships.
Got a quick look at our foursome for the day. Nice to see everybody even par or better after the challenge here at the wooded
Shiru,
Homestead Johnson
tell us
course.
about your round today.
I mean, most of the round was a struggle, except for the ace hole. And then the rest of the round was also still a struggle.
So how did this ace feel?
Really good. First ace ever. First tournament ace ever. So really, I'm trying to keep it together inside, trying to stay composed outside. But yeah, it's super stoked.
There's several of you within just a stroke or two of each other. Does that change your play at all?
You know, I will probably try and execute my game plan that I did yesterday. Hopefully keep the same lines, keep the disc safe, name the game and stay in bounds, not OB. So if I can play like I played yesterday, that would be the best.
That was Shiru's first tournament ace ever. And it's enough to keep her on the lead card going into the final round. Cadence Burge, I wanted to make sure I mentioned her hot finish because it puts Cadence on the lead card along with both Jordan and Morgan Lynds. So we will be back here with coverage of that final round here at the 2022 PDGA Amateur Disc Golf World Championships. Thanks for following along. Stay tuned for that final round coverage